Hi there, once again, good morning, and I wish you all a lovely, happy Sunday. Um, so, today we are going to talk a little bit about inner child work and what does that mean? What is this inner child work? There's so many workshops these days about inner child work and inner child journeying and retrieving that part of your soul. So, what is exactly what I understand and how I help my client is what I'm going to share with you today. So, it's a very important part of my therapies when I am working with my clients. The inner child work is one of the biggest healing and clearing process. So I integrate this with my holistic work as well in my meditation practices. If I'm bringing people to a journey, I'll bring this kind of work. So I will share some of my clients' examples just so that you can get a full picture of what's happening and you can relate to that in some way. So if, say, my clients are talking about they are, right now they're 40-year-old, 50-year-old, they're very much in their wisdom and their wise and they have all the understanding of the world. And as we grow, we have all the clarity of, I had a childhood, and as a child I was, abused, or as a child I was, my parents were a little strict. All that wisdom is there right now. But still I'm feeling anxiety. Still I'm feeling I'm comfort eating. Still I'm not happy. So the thing is, how this works is if your inner child or yourself when you were a child, that part of your life, anywhere there had been so many issues. Of course, as a child, we go through a lot because everything is new, we're innocent, we don't know our choices, our decisions. And whatever happens to us, sometimes it's too much for us to understand or process. Sometimes it's very hurtful. Sometimes it creates a lot of fear inside us. And if it's coming from our parents, then it's a constant thing because it's happening every day. So as a child, whatever I've gone through, and if there are parts of my childhood which was not healthy and there were some issues there, unless and until that child feels safe there, which is a work of your subconscious mind, where we are working in a trance-like state and we are clearing in a regression session or a hypnosis session or an emotional release session, and we are clearing all that. It could be sometimes I have hurted someone, and because of I did something, someone else was in pain. Because I had a client where she was abused sexually as a teenager by her own cousin. And when she was sexually abused by the cousin, she, after a while, came out and shared with her family. And when she did that, she actually realized that it was a mistake. She could carry this all her life because her cousin brother actually committed suicide because that was too much for him, that guilt and that what he has done. So we can sometimes carry that guilt or that kind of burden on ourselves. So, so the inner child work is all about connecting with your journey and really being honest in your journey to understand what parts of your childhood as your inner child is not healthy and is not happy. Because unless and until that child, just say for example, you have a birthday party and it's your child's birthday party, and the parents have done every single thing to make it absolutely wonderful. And on the day, every guest has arrived, everything, the cakes are there, the decorations are all set, but your child is cranky, your child is crying, your child is irritating, he's just tantrums. Would you be able to enjoy the party? You've done everything, but you can't enjoy it. So that's what we're trying to understand here. That if your inner child is unhappy, is sad, is in fear, it has gone through a lot, then it's something that I think everyone should do the inner child work, because we don't know what we've gone through. And sometimes we are very good in lying to ourselves, and we tell ourselves, you know what, I had the best parents and I had the greatest childhood and I was absolutely amazing parents, and my, those days were amazing. We used to go out and play and all that kind of stuff. But only when you're really sitting down and checking and really being honest to yourself, there were parts where you were not, where you felt that maybe you were playing the role of a mother as a child for your younger brothers and sisters, or where you were actually having strict parents who were so focused on study, 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 that you felt the pressure of either their poverty was put on you, that you need to study hard so that you can earn and you can be, and that burden that didn't let you live your childhood as, and that innocence and that joy. It could be that you were touched by a family member in a wrong way, and that touch was not right. Those words could be not right. Maybe you were abused physically. You were bullied, and that inner child still carries that. So just imagine yourself in that scene. Don't try and feel it, but just try and imagine yourself for that moment in that scene, and how scary that big person who was trying to bully you or say the nasty things or sexual things, and that is too much for the child to go through. So at that time, your subconscious is your protective mind, and your protecting mind was trying to tell you this is not safe, but it was not able to help you because you didn't knew the choices. You didn't knew what to do, as you were too innocent and young at that time. You had no clue. And for the subconscious to process this, it triggers some kind of a other thing, a mechanism to try and protect you, or mask that pain or that. And so it can trigger fear every time you're around people. It could trigger anxiety to people. It could trigger comfort eating. Most of my clients who come here for weight loss programs are actually abused sexually. And that's the subconscious easiest way to say, you know what, I'll keep eating a lot till the time I look ugly, and then no one feels I'm attractive. So it's a defense mechanism. So yeah, that's how, if I see someone as a child, I know it was so easy to just see in the school and just say, hey, fatty, or hey, shorty, all that kind of stuff. And when my daughter sometimes, talk about that someone was bullied, I feel like I always tell her, don't do that ever, because I work with people. I know how much it impacts, and there's a reason always behind it, unless and until there's a thyroid or some medical reason behind it. So all this gives us an understanding of how important this inner child work is. Till the time that child feels safe in that place, in that we make it happy, joyous, and bring it back to its full purest self that it was at that time before that thing happened. Here in your heart center, you won't feel that joy and that happiness, because it's like a cranky child on the birthday party. No matter what you do, no matter how much you please, no matter you bring a cake, or it won't let you be happy. So to have that contentment, to have that happiness and true bliss of living a life, truly, you have to have your inner child content and happy. And you need to sit and do this work, no matter your inner child doesn't want to do that work and is so scared, and it's too difficult to even think about going there. Unless and until you sit down and genuinely get the right help, it's not going to go. Many people do it on the very conscious level in meditation groups. It doesn't work like that. I have been in meditation for years before I became a hypnotherapist. So I used to teach, I used to practice meditation for years and years, and I used to feel like I know it all, I've cleared it all, I've forgiven everyone, I've done all the work that I need to, till the time I was in the hypnosis training and I was actually volunteering. So we had to be a therapist and a client, we had to play roles, and I was actually being hypnotized by a course student. And it was amazing to realize that how much work is within me, how much anger I still carry, how much work I've not even started. And that was a big realization for me, to see that the meditations are great, absolutely amazing. But they're not deeper enough to clear from the roots, from the crux. So when you are in hypnosis, you are in that state where your subconscious mind is fully open, and everything that we are carrying, every blocks and every journey, not just this life, as a regression session can be a past life regression. So it doesn't have to be just anything. So you're open to work. But when I'm talking about the regression and the inner child work, it's always this life. And your blueprint from the age of 0 to 6 or 0 to 7, I know they've changed a little bit from 0 to 6, they say these days. That's your blueprint where we need to find and clear stuff. And sometimes we need to work in the womb as well, because it's the time, like everyone must have seen Linda's great testimonial about how calm after a hypnobirth, the sessions that she's gone through, and how calm the child, the baby Shay was. So it has an impact. I have had many clients here who talk about troubled child and how difficult their life has been after they had that child. And most of the time, these people were in a lot of stress during their pregnancy, during the time of that life, and that phase was just too stressful for them. They were on antidepressants, or they were really on abusive relationships. They were going through a lot, probably depressed in some way. And all this has an effect on the womb, on the child. So when sometimes you're working with the inner child work, we're also working on the womb, and how a soul is in the womb, because that's the biggest time spiritually, as I say. That's one of the biggest time when you are, when the soul is actually burning the karma to the maximum, because you're not attached to a new body that you've just got, you've just left one, and you journey to a new womb. You're not attached to your parents, you're not attached, you don't even know what's the life going to be like. And you can actually see and reflect your own shadows, your own karma, your own pasts. And that's the biggest time, which is painful time for the child. And if the parents are going through a lot, and the house is full of, arguments and all that, it's too much for the soul to go through. So sometimes in the session, we have to clear not just the inner child work, but also the womb work, which is again a big work. So yeah, there are many methods of how we do that. Everything that your parents, if especially with the parents, that has the biggest impact. So if the parents have been abusive, or verbally they were abusive, physically abusive, of course, and sexually, that's a big job. But yeah, if there was that kind of abuse in the family, or if as a child I've seen the parents arguing and having conflicts and abusing each other, alcohol abuse, all that has a very big impact on the child. So when the inner child work is happening, clearing, we are working a lot with that kind of fear or anger that a person carries. I have a client who has a lot of panic attack, and it is like every day he might have twice or 3 times sometimes a panic attack, and to an extent that he can't even close his eyes for a session. And the reason was because his father was a very abusive alcoholic, and because of seeing so much of abuse, so much of rage and being abused as well, and then separation and going through all that was too much for him to even process. His subconscious was not able to understand what's happening. And as a child, that was just in immense pain. And that's why he is in his 50s and still he has this extreme panic attacks. But what happens is your subconscious trying to protect you, but then it's also overprotecting you to an extent that you can't even relax for a second. He can't even close his eyes. He can't go anywhere in 5 kilometers around his house. He can't go out, interact with people. It's amazing how the subconscious tries to protect in a way that is so suffocating, so difficult for a person to live a normal life. And then here comes different techniques. So what was their external voices or their critical comments or words or abuse will slowly become the child's inner voice. And then that critical mind is what we carry. We carry all that critical mind. I'm stupid. I'm not good enough. No one loves me. No one wanted me. Especially in the cases where a child was abandoned or was given to grandparents. it's a big, or they have been relocating or changing their houses, or asking the child to leave their friend circle, their comfort, and it's like rooting, removing the roots of a plant and then expecting it to grow again in a new place. It's not necessary to survive. And though it looks like it's alive, but still it's not happy inside. So it's like that kind of work where even a small relocation of the house, school change, or any kind of a new brother or sister being born. Now, this is something that happened in my family. One of my family member had this issue where she was the eldest and she was always pampered, loved. She was the first child in the family. Everyone loved and adored and, craved and wanted her attention, wanted to grab her, kiss her, take her places. So lots of love being showered. And then suddenly her mother had another child. So now it was a big shock for this family member. And she couldn't process and understand that 3-year-old child was trying to understand why my mother is carrying this child. Why is she not holding me? Why she's not looking at me? And her way of getting the attention after that was by having an asthma attack, or by saying, I'm sick, I get attention, and creating that illnesses to get all the attention. So how the subconscious plays, it's very weird, isn't it? But that's the truth. I've seen so many patterns and how the subconscious can trigger something because it feels that's the only way to get what they need or what they deserve. So now when I'm in hospital, when I'm really sick, I get my mother all the time. I have all the attention. Everyone is loving me. I'm back in my comfort. I'm back in the way I was. And I hate this child. Though he's my brother, I hate this child. I don't think he's my enemy. And this is a subconscious, that's the inner child. And you can carry that. And you're not sure why, as a grown up, I don't have any relationship with my brother. Why am I still craving and doing things to please my mother, to get all the attention, being sick? And I hate the sickness. I'm always sick. I'm always on tablets, but still I want that attention. So subconsciously, if that inner child is healed and cleared, and it depends on the clients, it depends on the person, if they want to help themselves, if they really genuinely understand the patterns and they say, yes, I want to do the inner child work. I genuinely need help because my inner child is not happy and I can't feel that happiness in my life. No matter what you do, it's not going to come. So I had this another client, and she was in her schoolyard as a child, and the recess bell rang and everyone had to go back in the class. So as she was going back in the yard, she saw some pack of biscuits, and the biscuit pack was just open. There were biscuits there, and she was like, oh, I want to have. She was tempted. She was just a 6-year-old, and she just took one biscuit and she had it. And she heard someone walking, behind, like going from one place. So she heard some footsteps, and that gave her so much fear that she dropped all the biscuits. She ran to her class, and she made sure in her life she will always secure and make everyone safe around her, because she felt so much scared that became her drive for the life. She wanted to be Garda, to make sure everyone is safe. But what she was doing was she was trying to save that inner child. And no matter how much she is going to, be a Garda, be an officer, be the biggest post, she's still going to keep craving for more and more safety, more and more security, having more protection, cameras, everything you call it. And I think I met her when she was in her 40s, and she still had that. The inner child was not healed. And that I have to protect, I have to be safe, was all constantly on. So since the age of 6, just imagine a person driven by one fear, and they are channeling their entire life, their career, their path towards just this one fear that triggered as a child. And that's why this work is so important, to break those patterns, heal the inner child, so that you can live a life the way you want. That it's neutral. Okay, now you still want to be in Garda's work. That's great. If you feel like, no, I want to study something else, I want to be a hairdresser, be something that you want then. And no, nothing is driving you, nothing which is, obsessive, insane things like OCD, and some kind of a desire to keep things clean, and to an extent that it's overpowering your mind, your soul, and extreme cases of OCD. I like to keep things clean, but I'm fine if it messes as well. So I have to have a balance. It doesn't become a sickness. It doesn't become a big problem for me to survive after that. That's what I'm saying. That all these different cases that I have from my clients, I'm sharing this because it probably gives you an idea or a place to start with, to reflect on your life and to see what part of your child is not happy, or where you've been given too much as a child, or where you were a happy child and were there parts where you were lonely, where you felt unloved, where you felt you were neglected or rejected, where you desired more and you were not given what you desired. Now you understand, okay, they didn't have enough money, or they didn't have this, or they didn't have that. But does that child understand that? Did that child felt that pain and that anger and that frustration? So if you still go back and you can still feel those feelings, and that's the work that we need to do. And it also depends on how your personality is today. What is driving you? Is it something negative that's driving you? Is that every now and then you're snappy and you're very irritated at people? Is it that you're driven towards money and you want to earn because you feel that's a safety blanket because your parents didn't have that, and you feel like, oh no, I need to have it for my children? It's important, it's necessity, but how much is it taking your mind and soul? Everyone is earning, but how important is that money? It could be a simple thing of cleaning, but how it overpowers and becomes an illness. And that's what I'm asking you to reflect on, to go back and see in your today's personality, what is it that you'd like to change? What is it that is bothering you? And you have to be genuinely honest with yourself when you're trying to reflect on it. And as a therapist, when people come to me in a consultation, that's where we start with. I ask loads of questions, just trying to understand the full picture. And most of the time, I'm understanding and touching that inner child, just to see where was he or she hurt, what was happening with that inner child. And once we are clearing things from there, most of the time the foundation is cleared, roots are healthy again, and if that child is blossoming, then everything is fine. The issue completely resolves. Sometimes it takes 1 session, sometimes it's 3 sessions, but sometimes it's a little bit longer. But that's the work that we need to do. The emotional clearing, the mental and spiritual blocks that happens for the child is what is the main work. So hope this was of some help. And of course, I do a lot of inner child work, and I also do a lot of work with parents where I'm helping them understand why it's so important to say the right things. There are lots of things available online, like affirmations, positive talk, positive parenting courses. But if you understand that every words or actions that you are doing in front of your child is going to be their blueprint, unless and until you do it right, they are not going to understand and incorporate it. It will become very easy if I'm spiritual and I want my child to be spiritual. So if I'm spiritual, I'm showing my child this is spirituality. I'm not teaching my child. I'm showing them with my actions, with my values, with my virtues, the way I respond in my situations. That's how a child will learn. So it's a lot of work on the self, and it's a big responsibility as a parent that I need to work on myself. I need to do my inner work before I even tell them or teach them this is right and this is wrong. Who knows what's right and what's wrong? Do I really know that? And I really genuinely have to work on myself to know the genuine rights and wrong. For me, honesty is very important because I work really hard on that. I value that a lot. And I make sure that I always am honest with my child. She lies, it's okay. But at least she knows that this is a virtue, that mother is, if she's saying something, she's going to do that. And if she's promised something, or if she's telling me a criticism about myself, she's telling it honestly. And it has to be consistent. It has to be, you have to do that repetitively, and you can't be distracted. You have to be disciplined with the parenting, and it's hard work. It's absolutely hard work, and no matter what you do, you'll be the worst parent, at least for till the time they're teens. But once they are, in their families, then you come back to a good parent, and then they'll be going to the therapist that my mother was not good enough and she was strict or whatever. But you have to do your work right, because you're creating your blueprint, their blueprint as a personality. So whatever you do, you have to make sure that you're not taking things emotionally, personally. You're understanding and giving the best to them. No matter what best you give, it's always going to be not enough, because they're not just learning from you. They're learning from the society. They're learning from friends, everything on media. They're learning from, many other sources, not just you. But from your side, you're doing the best because that is deeply impacted and integrated in the subconscious mind. So whatever you say, all your actions. So if a parent is smoker, it's very easy for the child to feel that's okay, I can do that one day. Or if a parent is alcoholic, but to an extent that they're abusive, the child may take it either ways, that I will never drink or I can also drink. So they have this both options open because of the parent having that. So when you're working on your habit patterns and working on your inner child, you're actually giving it a gift to your children as well, so that you can actually give them a better personality or a better option to live a healthier life without a lot of things to clear. Of course, they'll have things to clear, but at least not from your side. You're trying your best to minimize it as much as possible. So I love to work with parents and make them understand how every suggestion, every word that you're saying has a direct impact on their subconscious mind. It goes straight in, because they don't know. They feel you are God and whatever you're saying is absolute truth. I used to be surprised when my daughter, if I used to tell her, don't do this, you're not allowed, and she would actually not do that. And I used to be like, why doesn't she question? Or every child is different. Some children are very curious. They'll ask questions and they'll fight with it and they'll say no. They're strong-headed. And my daughter was completely opposite. She was like, okay, if that's the way, I won't do it. I'm not allowed. And for me, it became a more responsible job, because then I have to be really mindful of, and that's why I learned mindfulness, and I was more conscious and more working on myself, finding more ways to heal and clear, so that I can give her the best. But no matter what you do, it's not just always just you. So you stop beating yourself. Do the best you can as a parent, and it's not an easy job, but it's a big job. It's a very big job for your child's personality. So hope this was some helpful tool. If you have questions, if you have anything personally, any issue that you'd like to talk to me, you're more than welcome. Just give me a call or text, and I'll come back to you as soon as I am available. I wish you a great weekend, and I'm looking forward to see you, Georgie. All right. Bye, guys.